me my comments.
Okay. Thank you, Sarah. I think it's a real tribute to have Delta and Montrose Community Economic Development folks put together such an incredible meeting with some great speakers, and I hope we have a great 2 days here learning a little bit about the sustainability of agriculture, both from a farming and a ranching perspective. So I'm really looking forward to it. I think it was 2 years ago. I think we had a conference in that room over there, and I think it was well attended, very full, and glad to see they had to move to a bigger room. So that's really a good thing. A couple other notes. We obviously have some booths going to be put up around the room. We also have some diagrams posted up in the back of the room. Take a look at those. We have a speaker here from New Mexico, Rudy Garcia, who's done a beautiful job of putting photos, diagrams together of what soil health is. So take a look at those. And they're all available at your New Mexico website. So really a tribute to his probably artistic abilities, unlike my autistic abilities. And so really nice job, Rudy. I appreciate you doing that. So, okay, we'd like to start off with a really simple demonstration that you can take home to your farm, take home to your ranch, and look at where your soil is for soil health. It's called an aggregate stability test, also a slake test. And we have 3 examples up here, and Dave's going to assist here and give us a little history on some of the soils. But what they are, you immerse a clod of soil in water in the suspended tray of nothing more than a screen into a beaker of water, and you notice how it reacts. And again, you can do this. I've done this on a farm in the San Luis Valley, and we went to grab 2 different soils. And you notice how this one on the far right is disintegrating, right? It's falling apart. What's going to happen to the bottom of that beaker is those particles are all lining up and mashing together and really forming a tight seal. Okay, the second soil is not so much disintegrating, although there's a little bit movement. And the last soil, to your right, is really staying intact. So it's a really simple test to take a look at see what's happening visually with your soil. And what this is meaning here is soil glue was discovered around 1996 by Dr. Sarah Wright with ARS. And there may be some slides we see where they've actually photographed it with a green dye. And what it ended up being, they found out that was the material that held soil together. Okay? And it's a byproduct of having a healthy soil. It keeps your soils together. It keeps your PED together, along with roots and other living organisms. So what happens is when a soil is pulverized by whatever, it can be hoof action, it can be cultivation, you break down the structure of the soil and you just degrade the life of that soil. So a soil that's full of life will not degrade when it's immersed in water. So Dave, if you want to explain a little bit here what we got going on with the different types of soils, because we obviously have one that disintegrated. Right.
Yeah, these came from 3 farms in the area locally, and they have a little bit of different history and a little bit of use and management going on. This particular soil came from just west of Olathe, and its texture's a loam/clay loam, and it had been plowed and it had been basically in corn for several years in a row in furrow irrigation. This one comes just south of Delta and has been in grass, hay, and pasture for a few years. I'm not sure exactly how many. But again, you can see that it is holding together pretty well. This one came from a farm south of Montrose that has been in continuous grass, hay, pasture for 38 years. And you can even see color differences here. This one certainly has a whole lot more organic matter that has been built up in the soil through the farming practices that are being done.
Good. So we could look at this soil weeks, months later if we left it that way, and it'll stay just like it is. It's staying together. It's just a really good visual to take home and to test your soils. And this one here this one's almost disintegrated. So with that, you definitely want to look at your soil as a living system. And don't you think there's probably more carbon on the soil on the right? So I think it's really just a good exhibit, and we might take this down here so we can get rolling on the PowerPoint presentations. But it's a good exhibit. We're going to leave it up the rest of the day. But keep in mind that the degradation that's happening and the compaction that soil is going to have at the bottom of the beaker is really going to be what's going to be the byproduct of that. Not just that your soil is falling apart and your roots are not hanging on to any soils. So we'll leave that up. Take a look at it. Got any questions you can get with Dave or Jay or myself, and we can go ahead and we're going to probably need to move that off the stage, I think. Yeah, it'll still show. So thank you. Okay, with that, I have a few slides that I'd like to talk about. We have Colorado's fortunate with our agency, with NRCS. And by the way, I'd like to get hands of how many are farmers and ranchers. Can you raise your hand? That's perfect. Because this is about your operation, how to improve it. This is about you pushing the science. How many NRCS folks here? So we got a few. Okay. I like it when the producers and farmers outnumber NRCS. That's the way it needs to be. Because without farmers and ranchers, this goes nowhere. Again, goes nowhere. It's all about you. It's about helping what you can do on your farm and ranch. So we have an interest group in Colorado. Our state conservationist Phyllis Phillips has put a team together, and I happen to be the coordinator for this team along with a few others. And we're just starting to roll out our strategy. So next slide. Okay, obviously what is a healthy soil? A soil that's got 4 components on it, and I'm going to drive home this few points. Or is this soil on the left, on the right, a healthy soil? Looks kind of barren. You can see the organic matter changes. There's probably some erosion and deposition going on. We have so much science to learn about what our soils do for us. And back in the early 90s, I always wondered about this the pea brain working. Why aren't we having to fertilize rangeland and it looks perfectly green, everything vibrant, and our cropland we're putting NPK on all the time? It's because of these critters in the soil that keeps your cycle moving in your soil. And farmland has become so reliant on NPK that we've destroyed the habitat below the ground. So these are really important critters. Okay, next. Okay, principles of soil health. It's really good if you can to introduce a no-till system. That's always a good start. I realize sometimes it requires some light tillage, which you may have to continue or look at other options. But if you can reduce tillage, eliminate it, it's even better. You do wonders to your soil. A live root in the soil at all times. Doesn't that make sense? Isn't that what nature does? Put a live plant. Keep the soil covered at all times. Isn't that a good armor? What happens to your soil when it hits 120 degrees? A lot of things die. Okay, it's good for sterilization, I suppose, and you want diversity of vegetation. You don't have rangeland out there with just one species, so you want to look at as many species you can put in your rotation, either your hayland operation, introduce extra diversity in your pasture systems, or increase your diversity of rotation in your cropland systems. Very important. Cover does wonders. I heard this comment a while ago and I had forgotten about it, is take the E out of ET. You've all remembered evapotranspiration. If you can take the E out of ET, you'll save a lot of water in your soils. It really helps in the drought situation. And obviously there's a lot of cover on 3 out of 4 slides, isn't there? Okay, next. I like Ray spoke here last year. I love this slide. This soil is naked, hungry, thirsty, and running a fever. And when you're doing all those, your soil's dying. It's really a disruptive ecosystem. Points to ponder? The doctor of the future will give no medicine, but will interest his or her patients in the care of the human frame, in a proper diet, and in cause of prevention of the disease. So Thomas Edison kind of had it right. So we got to get back and look back at the bigger picture here if we can. Soil health, the sustained capacity of a soil to function at a high level as a vital living ecosystem. And it's sometimes crazy, but we know more about the dark side of the moon soils than we do our own soils on this planet. So we really need to look at what is up below the ground. It's a vital ecosystem that's living, that can mineralize all your soil, your NPK, and provide you a lot of nutrients, which you'll hear during this conference. Okay? I like this slide. Just tells you the natural forest systems actually have a high potential for soil quality, and then of course the conventional tillage, low biomass, low diversity, and going against those four principles. Lack of diversity, obviously disturbance, live root, and cover, lacking cover. So there's the low biomass in those systems, and it degrades your organic matter. Okay? We have a rainfall simulator in Colorado, so if you would like that used during the time of year where you can run water outside, we do have one available. It can be transported. It's in a really handy dandy little trailer with all the stuff you need to put on a nice little exhibit. And on this one here on the left side, we had like a no-till system, a bare ground. I thought it was interesting. They took a CRP field and took all the vegetation off on it, just to show you how good aggregate stability, again, part of the beakers, how good they absorb water. And we did a remarkable job, even without the cover on it. And then we had CRP fields. Next slide. We got to be worried about feeding the herd below the ground. It's really important. And I'd like to get moving here relatively quick. It's basically the soil livestock. Very diverse mix of species. Okay. Soil food web, you maybe have seen this diagram before. No-till methods of crop productions, or at least reduce it if you can't seem to work with no-till, which that would be a challenge. Definitely try and reduce it. And these are some of the impacts. Reduce or eliminate compaction, improve soil aggregate stability and filtration with no-till systems. So, okay. And obviously the living network and the biopores that roots create in your soil. And if you disrupt them, you then disrupt the network that you have in there. So, and obviously if you lay it down, crimp it, all that material turns into great avenues for water to enter in the annual system. So, and then of course you can have a plow pan. I need to move on, Dave, if we could. Okay, to show you the roots. Here's the hyphae extending from the corn roots and the high magnification of it. Soil math, I always like this one. Soil before extraction on the left, minus the glomalin, soil glue. And then the soil after extraction. Not much left but the mineral component of the soil, right? Okay. Live root in the soil at all times. Mimics nature, promotes nutrient cycling, helps with organic matter. Soil covered at all times. Helps soil from wind and water erosion. That's pretty obvious. Reduced soil temperatures is really an understatement. It does wonders to do that. And then of course reduces the evaporation and weed pressure. Roots 70% is in the upper part, obviously. Cover crops are plant species whose primary purpose is to promote beneficial biological activity, managing pests, and improving the soil. And the more diverse your cover crop can be, the better diversity gains you will have. Okay, here's some legume mixed with sunflowers, peas and canola, oilseed radishes. The radishes, brassicas do a great job of bringing nitrogen into the system. They have a lower carbon to nitrogen ratio. So cover crops help protect the soil, increase the benefit of soil health. Multi-species cocktails just do wonders helping your one-year diversity gains. Wonders. Okay? Here's some temperature differences, 107.4 degrees on the left, 86.6 on the right. You think that's going to save some water? Yes. You're going to get bacteria multiplying. You're going to get a lot of extra benefit from that. Cover crop mixes. This is one on the left. Planted May. I believe this came from your work, Jay. Less than 1 inch of rain from planting to this picture. And then look at the multi-species cover crops on the right with turnips. Okay? Cattle inputs. If you can incorporate animals on the landscape, you do a wonderful, wonderful aid to your soil health. And obviously the urine and the feces. Diversity of vegetation, nitrogen fixation, snow harvest, beneficial species habitat. That also includes insects, pollinators. And there's been some work, and I just came back 2 weeks from Bismarck, and they had a speaker talking about bugs. It looks like we know about as much on bugs with soil health as we do soil microbiology. So we got a lot to learn in the entomology region area as well. So, okay. Crop rotation, looking at cool season grasses, warm season grasses, broadleafs, legumes. Consider expanding your rotation. So a review, look at reducing tillage if you can. No-till's obviously a terrific way to start. Have a live root in the soil at all times. Keep your soil covered, and then make sure if you can add diversity in your rotation, any chance you can. Maybe even expand diversity by, after small grains, putting in a cover crop. Okay? Some old thinking, new thinking, mechanical tillage versus biological tillage. Short periods with living plants, long periods with living plants. Don't you think that would be that's a really good bonus? Eliminate undesired plants, promote habitat for desired species. You seem like you can really get after your weed control with a diverse rotation, following those 4 principles. And it's really okay if you got a weed out there here and there. It may not be what you want, but you remember, isn't it a live root? It's okay. It's got some carbon in it too. So a few cash crops and monocultures, diversity of cash crops and cover crops in the new thinking. So, okay? 2 different large heads, similar intensity, tillage intensity and C inputs. But one with cover crops, crop residues using animal manures, and one with just crop residues. So who's leading this effort? You all are. This is all about trying to help one another, showcase by tours, workshops, this meeting itself, and just passing the word around the network and getting to know folks. You need a support network. We don't have all the answers, but there may be a farmer or rancher that does. So we'll hear more on that later. Is there any more slides? Because I'd like our closing point. It ain't what you don't know that gets you into trouble. It's what you know for sure that just ain't so. I think that's pretty good quote. So,
now, figures will tell you right now, that little deal right there is a mighty, mighty good deal.
You bet go right. That's good. Now, healthy relationships, healthy soils, healthy food for healthy people. Now, that's something we can all agree on.
That's right.
That's way fun, isn't it? They did such a great job on that. You know, we're in the communication age, right? So that's on YouTube. So if you type in soil health, you may find that. Or type in, no, that's good, no, that's bad. You can watch that anytime. So.